Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you feeling today?
I'm good.
I like your... What color is this?
Pink and neon.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about your journey in the last 1 year, going from an author of a book to a creator of a journal. So let's start from last year. On your birthday, if I remember correctly, you released Clueless to Designer, the book.
Yeah.
And it was your very first. Tell me about the feeling of it, working on it for a couple of months and just seeing it go live.
First thing, when I dropped the book on the first day, on my birthday, I'm like, okay, I've been working on this thing for X amount of time, and this is what I've been working on. I had no idea that many people were going to respond to what I had said in that way, because at the time I didn't even have up to 3,000 followers across my social media. So on Designer Babe I had about maybe 2K. On Twitter I wasn't even tweeting that much, so I didn't have that many following. So I thought at the very least just my followers would be excited about this thing I have done, and they'll give me audience. But when I posted it and said this is out for pre-order, I had over 500 people subscribe to my wait list. I had people retweeting, people sending me messages, people just telling me, Michelle, I can't wait for this thing to be ready. And at that time, I hadn't even finished the book, so I was just like, okay, now I have to finish this. But it took me about another month before I was done with the book, and then I said, okay, this book is live. I remember that day I was traveling, and I posted the book and said, oh, you guys can go buy this book here right now, and I boarded my flight. By the time I got off my flight, my Twitter was blowing up, my Instagram was blowing up.
You're a celebrity.
It was wild. Everyone was just like talking about it. The whole Nigerian tech ecosystem was just on about this book. People were purchasing it in numbers, doing giveaways, it was so massive. And in a month, I had sold past my goal. And then I was just like, okay, this is actually happening. I guess I can say that I'm actually an author now.
Amazing. And when you say you passed your goal, I remember that you became a millionaire. Maybe not your first million, but you made over $1 million from that book. You bought laptops for how many people? For 3 people. For 3 people. And then you still made the money of the laptops back. So when you think about, I created this book and I sold it, tell us about the feeling of making actual money from the book and just
the interesting thing is when I started design, I never thought it was going to be something that I was going to be so good at in any way, that I was going to be able to make money of it. And when I say in any way, I'm saying starting from being a good designer at work, before it even goes outside work and you start to impact people's lives outside work. So first, when I started to write the book, I didn't even plan on making any money from it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm writing this thing because I want to give back to the community. I wasn't thinking of monetizing anything. But at the point when I finished writing the book, I was thinking that, okay, I've done so much in this book. I've put in so much work. I want to give back to the community, but maybe not giving back as to making the book free. Maybe I should charge a token and then use the money I make off the book to buy laptops and give to 1 person or 2 people. But then I made so much money to be able to afford to give 3 people laptops, and that whole feeling of just being able to change someone's life or give them something that can potentially change their life and just make them bigger than anything has been very satisfying, And even when I think of the sales that I made from my book, or when I think of how much I made from the book, because I made the money back for the laptops after I had finished giving the laptops, whenever I think of how successful the book is, I still think about the success in terms of the people who got these laptops, because the ripple effect that can come from that is just so fulfilling, And thinking that is something, because when I think of how many things I've done, being a makeup artist, being in a science class, going into modeling, I've done quite a number of things, right? And to think that it's design that I never thought I was going to be, a designer I thought I never was going to be, making money on the side, not even my day job. It's quite it's quite a fulfilling feeling, I would say.
Amazing. I mean, just hearing you talk about, to me, I want to be a designer, I make money from design. That's not my day job. That's the punchline. So, I mean, one would imagine that because of what you've spoken about, just the impact is one of the reasons why this year you were gingered to or motivated to create another product. But why a design journal this time? I mean, it's so far off from Clueless to Designer.
Yeah, it's a couple of things. First thing being, I've always known that I was going to make a journal, right? Because journaling saved my life at some point. I was always writing how I was feeling, trying to articulate my thoughts through writing. And anytime I would post about my journal or anything on social media, I would get people asking me, okay, Michelle, how did you do it? What do you write? How do you know what to write? And I'm like, okay, maybe I should do something that can help people answer these questions. But it was just always a thought, you know. On the other hand, writing in terms of writing and being a person who puts themselves out there through writing started from 2018, I would think, when I released an article about my 1 year being an intern. I actually didn't even think that many people were going to like that article, but that article also made so much waves. Blogs were carrying it and things like that. And it showed me at the time that regardless of my expertise or regardless of my experience in anything, if I'm able to share my story in a certain way, there are people who are going to connect to my story, period. Whether I'm doing it for a year or I'm doing it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, there are people who would be able to see my story and think that I can be inspired by this person. You know, so that was how I knew that writing could do something on the other hand. But it wasn't until, I think, January this year, I stumbled upon a notebook that Tosin Olasayinde had done for Money Africa. And I thought it was really amazing. And I'm like, okay, she did this thing for finance and did it for... she did it for finance. I could do something like this for designers. But at that time, it was just a very rough thought, very rough thought. But I started to think about it and think about it and think about it. And I realized that every time I had been at the office before that time, I would always have A4 papers everywhere in my bag. People who worked at my previous company will know. I would always have A4 papers trying to write things down, trying to draw, trying to sketch, trying to just take my thoughts down and everything. And I'm like, why can't I make something like this for myself? You know, it doesn't have to be thousands of papers moving about in my bag. I can just have a notebook for this particular purpose. So that was when I started to, you know, put some more color into the thought that I had by making a design journal. But as time went on and I started to, like, you know, do a little things here and there, do the grids, do the colors, I started to think of how to make the journal even more valuable. And at this time, it was also when I moved into another company. And every time I would have a conversation with a designer, it always feel like we are talking about the same thing. I'm saying this is what I'm experiencing at my company, and they're saying this is what they're experiencing at their company, and it just feels like we are living the same lives, we all have the same experiences, but for some reason there's nowhere any of these things is being talked about, you know, because you get to a certain point as a designer and, you know, it goes beyond the visuals. The visuals are just an expression of the way you are thinking, an expression of the way your thoughts are being formed. And there's some other things that you just need to know, like when you're done with your work, who is going to talk about your work for you? Nobody. You have to do it yourself. When you're trying to communicate your work to engineers, to product managers, if you're not good at articulating, you might just disregard it because you're not able to, like, put your thoughts properly. You know, who's talking about self-advocacy? Who's talking about negotiation? Who's talking about bragging? Because when you do your work, you have to be able to brag about it. Nobody's telling us how to navigate these things, right? And these are the things that I'm learning about every day. And I was thinking, why can't I put this information with this journal and give it to designers so they're able to have all of this information in one place? They're able to track their goals in one place, they're able to write their thoughts in one place, they're able to make their sketches in one place, you know. And that's actually why I went into designing a journal. From designing a book to get people into design, it's like, okay, now you're in design, how do I level up? How do I become a better designer? How do I achieve what I want to achieve in this career path? Then you have a journal to help you do all of those things. Write down your plans, write down your ideas, everything, bam.
Amazing. I mean, so which means that you did not create a design journal, you created an all-in-one tool.
Yes.
For designers.
Exactly.
if you were to describe it yourself in a sentence and say, this design journal, this is what it is. It's a book because it contains tips on different topics. It's a retrospective tool. It's a goal setting tool. It's also a blank sheet for you to write. Like, if you bring all of it together, explain what your journal is in one sentence.
I would say that a design journal is an all-in-one resource that would help you document your thoughts, stay accountable to your goals, and it will give you knowledge on the essential topics that would set you apart in the industry.
Amazing. Okay, so now the design journal is live. Tell us about the experience. It's like getting a child. I saw one of your tweets where you said you've started working on this journal in February, which is like 9 months. So what is it like? You've conceptualized it, you've worked on it, you've seen hard copy. Now it's like people can actually get it. Like, what's that experience for you like?
I don't think I can answer that question without talking a bit about what creating it was like in the first place. When you start something at the beginning of the year, you are so excited. Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to finish it up and I'm going to sell it. But then you get a new job, you have to go to another continent, another country, join a new team, try to create value, try to get your feet stuck in the company. And your plans just like move all over the place, But one thing I would say that I struggled with when I was creating the journal was trying to match the work that I was putting into it to where I thought my value was in my community, right? I was asking myself different questions. Am I the person to talk about this? Do I even have expertise on these topics that I'm trying to cover? How much have I experienced that I should be able to tell someone about this again? But I remembered what I did with my article in 2018, and it just reminded me that I might not be the person who has 5 years experience trying to advocate for themselves, or the person who has 5 years of experience interacting with product managers. But I have an experience and I have a story that someone else can learn from, and I'm going to share that. So going back and forth with the different things that I was trying to put into the book, put into the journal, all the things that I wanted to cover, teaching myself, learning how to design for print, learning how to publish. I think all of those things have made me feel very satisfied seeing that the book is now live, because it's one thing to have a dream and it's one thing to have a vision of something you want to do, but it's something else to be able to get to the end and get to the point where someone else is able to see this thing and tell you, I think this thing is valuable. And that's what has happened from the point where I said, oh, I made a journal. Hey guys, I made a journal. And to this moment, I'm having this video because people have said, Michelle, this book is very valuable and I want it, and they're paying for it. People have said, Michelle, this book is very valuable. I don't think I can afford it, but I want to afford it at X amount of time. Can I have one? Can you keep one for me? And just having that sort of support has just made me feel, has reinforced the feeling of, don't give up, Michelle. Like, when you want to do something, do it, because regardless of whether you think it's important to people, there are people who would actually find it very important and very valuable. And that has just been my experience in the last few days.
And that's amazing, and I think that's a good way to even end the video. So congratulations on your new product, your new book, your new journal.
Thank you.
And do you have any last words for people who are watching this video?
Yes. Go and buy it. Like, buy it and use it. I made it for you to use it, regardless of how much it costs. The main reason I made it was for you to use it and for you to become a better person and a better designer, right? So push your design leads, push your founders, your CEOs, tell them, let them go buy that journal for you. I don't think there's any reason why anybody should be giving you a book or a journal that isn't their designer rights. Like, it doesn't make sense. If you're a designer, you need their designer rights. So get it, do everything you can to get that book, okay?
Okay.